Hey everybody, happy Thursday, I guess, afternoon. A beautiful picture of Vancouver back there. Can you bring that full screen? That is a picture of the Sergeant Larry Young Park in Vancouver. And what you can't see there is, right above that is a high-speed rail track. So that park is underneath a high-speed rail track. You don't have the before picture, do you? No. And it was just a dumping ground for trash and dirt and old couches and drug needles. And in one day, the citizens of Commercial and 11th rallied together and built that beautiful park that you see there. And you can come back to me. And that's what happened. And it was some community builders, Tina Dam, and Sandy James, and Nadia, lovely Nadia that ran the daycare nearby, and many other citizens, many of them who did not speak the same language. We had translators that day. We had translators in orange hats that would translate in Mandarin and Filipino, and Tagalog is the language of the Philippines, and those that spoke Spanish. So we had translators that helped organize the volunteers, and there was hundreds that day honoring Sergeant Larry Young, a emergency response team member for the Vancouver Police Department, who tragically lost his life in a hostage crisis where he rescued the hostage, and in doing so he was shot in the back of the head. Tragic. His children were there that day as we honored him and his family, and it was a powerful day. And you're joining us because you are a community builder. Some of you have your own Let Them Be Kids projects on the go right now, but many of you are not. You don't have Let Them Be Kids projects. You're a part of this because this is part of our national action campaign, where we're taking everything that we learned over a 4.5-year period and we're teaching it. There's an old proverb that says, "Silver and gold I do not have, but what I have I freely give." We can only support about 30 projects a year. So silver and gold we cannot give you necessarily. But what we have, knowledge, insight, wisdom, life experience, stumbles, falls, failures. But what we have, knowledge, we freely give. And that's what this program is, 15 weeks. Through the incredible support of the Campbellford Seymour Community Foundation and their desire to build the leadership capacity of the Trent Hills area and beyond, my organization and its staff and team donating time, and then of course Let Them Be Kids, the umbrella of which we all came together to make this happen. We literally have people joining us from coast to coast, from every province and territory, and states all across the United States. We have people joining us today. So what are we doing today? Well, this is the coaching session. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions. You can ask questions. Margie is in the chat box. Say hi, Margie.
Hello.
Margie's in the chat box. She can take your questions. We're just taking them via the chat box today. Although I think I said Twitter, but I don't know if we have it hooked up. So we're taking them via the chat box today. I look very bald today. I got a haircut, but I don't know. I look kind of bald. We're taking them via the chat box. So if you have a question, feel free to ask. Now, we're talking about being an agent of change. And I sent you a series of emails about expanding your sphere of influence. And we talked about that 100 cups of coffee. So you might ask a question about that or make a comment about that. Or perhaps we'll talk about listening, right? Effectively listening. Listening like someone's going to die at midnight. Or we can talk about reactions to change. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is, do you know how to change something? Agents of change understand that we have a change dynamic. And in the context of community building, we have to be relatable. We have to be authentic. It's sad that we even have to talk about being authentic. That there's seminars and workshops on being authentic. Makes no sense. how do you go and get a bunch of different people from a bunch of different backgrounds with a bunch of different talents, experience, and interests? How do you take and marshal them towards a common goal? How do you get people to be involved in the thing you want to do? How do you go out and raise money? How do you do any of that? How do you do any of that? How do you get people involved in a community initiative? Well, I would suggest to you the only way to do that is relationships. People get hit with between 12 and 15,000 media impressions a month. The banner ad, the email spam, the instant message, the phone call, the billboard, the television commercial, the radio, the Netflix, the this, the that, the that, the this. 12 to 15 to 17,000, depending on the market you're in. But even in the most rural communities, you're getting hammered with information. So how in the world are you going to get anybody to pay attention to your thing? How in the world are you going to get anybody to take notice of what you're doing? Let alone get their time, talent, and treasure. Well, there's only one way to do that. Relationships. And that was what we talked about in this 100 cup of coffee strategy. That if you really wanted to be a person of influence, then you had to build trusting relationships with people of influence. And that because you only had a finite amount of time, talent, and treasure at your disposal, you had to be very specific about how you used that. And so we gave you a strategy. A strategy that we've used over and over, and frankly, over and over again. Over and over again. First, identify the people of influence. In a stakeholder group that you want to build a bridge into, who are the people of influence? Do I know them? Do I know somebody that knows them? And with these people of influence, how do they relate to me? Are they red to what we're trying to do? And that could mean against, or that could just be totally don't know. Are they yellow? Kind of indifferent. They know, but they aren't interested. Or at least haven't shown themselves to be. Or are they green? They're on board, but they're not necessarily a champion. You color code them. And then you work to go build that relationship. And how do we go build that relationship? 100 cups of coffee. We go and get to know them. But when we go to get to know them, we do just that. Go to get to know them. Not go to get to sell them. We're not going to get to sell them, convince them, cajole them. We're going to get to know them. My wife is a performing artist, and she has been involved in a lot of community theater, but she's also been involved in national productions and international productions. She has a depth and breadth of experience and knowledge in the performing arts. She founded the Performing Arts High School at one point. She's a very accomplished person. She does an incredible job of building relationships with people. At one point, when she was down in the States, she did a community theater activity, a show called Songs for a New World. It's a great show, actually. Very popular. Somehow, she reached out to a Tony Award-winning performer. He wasn't a Tony Award winner, but the show that he was in, Smokey Joe's Cafe, on Broadway, he was a performer. He was a lead performer in Smokey Joe's Cafe on Broadway, which had won a Tony Award. She called him in Southern California and said, Sheldon, what are you doing this time to this time frame? I'm not doing anything. I'm in between television shows. And she said, well, how would you like to come perform and be a lead for me in this Songs for a New World? And he was like, sure. And I was like, how much are we paying that guy? I'm paying him $500 for 4 weeks of work and his expenses. $500? He's thousands upon thousands of dollars performer. You know what it was? She had built a sphere of influence with that gentleman. She had a trusting relationship with that gentleman. That gentleman wanted to just come and perform in her community-based organization and community-based theater for no other reason than to be with her and to work with her That's the depth and breadth of the relationship. So was it because she had money to offer? Did he have to sell her? No. It's because she understood what really made that guy tick. You know what made that guy tick? Innovative productions and creative activities and an opportunity to do something that was a little bit different. She had taken the show and changed it slightly, and the way that the staging was done and the lighting was done. It was a different take on a show that had been done many, many times. And that intrigued him, and that interested him, and that was exciting for him. And you know how she knew that? She listened. Over the years, she had listened to what this performer wanted and needed, his aspirations, hopes, and desires. It wasn't about money for him. It was about the creative process. And so she enticed him to come and be a part, through the enticement of be a part of a unique creative process. What's your point in saying any of this, Ian? My point is that others doing a local community theater, they would have never made that call. But that was because they never listened and maybe understood what that level of performer really wanted. That person didn't want money. That person had other things that were drivers and motivators to them. So my point is, in sharing that story, is to say, here you are looking to be a community builder. If you want to be a community builder, you expand your sphere of influence in today's day and age by building trusting relationships with people of influence. She had built a trusting relationship with a Broadway performer, a person of influence. But because she didn't try to sell him anything, but tried to get to know him and really understand him, she knew what would entice him and would attract him and what would really ring his bell, if you will, for being involved. It had nothing to do with money. It had to do with the creative process. Okay, now let's boil that back down to you. You live in a rural community in Newfoundland, or you live in a mid-level municipality, urban with a little u, right? Urban with a little u in maybe the States. Who are those people of influence? The mom with the loudest mouth, the elected official, the business leader behind the scenes, the mid-level bureaucrat. Who are those people of influence that you need to get done what you need to get done? And what really makes them tick? And have you taken the time to go find out their dreams, their wants, their aspirations, their hopes, their desires? And you do that through 100 cups of coffee. Yeah, but Ian, I don't know them. Well, and remember, that was the thing. If you don't know them, what are you supposed to do? If you don't know them, then you know someone that does. So who do you know that knows somebody? We're doing a project in Ghana right now. We're about to do, in August 11th, 10th through the 27th, we're going to Ghana. And 30 people from Fort McMurray, Alberta are going to Ghana, and one from British Columbia are going to Ghana to install this playground and playgrounds. Well, I don't know anybody in Ghana. So I just had to start putting out the word. And all of a sudden, next thing I knew, people knew. So we've got someone to clear the container. Compassion International, major NGO, is going to clear the container for us. Kids around the world are helping us. And listen to this. They're setting up a meeting with me with the High Commissioner, which is the ambassador, from Ghana to Canada. How'd you get that? Well, because I know this guy named Vern White. I'm like, do you know anybody in the consulate from Ghana? He's like, I know the High Commissioner. I don't know any of those people, but I know someone who knows those people of influence. And then I asked them, hey, will you do me a favor? Will you set up a meeting? You know this? Ready for this? The president of Ghana might come to our playground build. How cool is that? It's crazy talk. No, it's not crazy talk. It's simple strategy. Who do I know that knows somebody, and how do I get to these people of influence? And the next thing you know, people are listening. They're listening because you listened to them, and that was the final piece of the strategy. That when you go and meet with those people, you're not talking to them about all the stuff you're doing. You're listening to their needs, wants, hopes, desires, and aspirations, recognizing that the most powerful, or one of the most powerful, things you can do is help a person to feel understood. When that human being across from you says, wow, Ian really understands me, or wow, Ian really understands our situation. Or wow, Ian really understands the difficulty or the hardship we're going through. Or wow, Ian really understands the roadblocks we face. When a person or group says that, you now have an opportunity for influence. And the only way to do that is to listen. You are never going to get to that place by talking. So if you want to, let's say you're doing a Let Them Be Kids project right now, and you want to get stakeholders throughout the community involved, you're not going to do it by going around and telling everybody what you're doing. There's a time and a place for that. But casting the vision. But if you want to get them their time, talent, and treasure, it's going to be listening to their needs, wants, and desires, and then showing them how what they want to accomplish can be found in what you're doing. Yeah, but what if it can't be? Well, then you say, after I've heard everything you have to say, I don't think our project really will fulfill your needs. And if nothing else, they'll appreciate that you're being honest with them and not just trying to get money from them, or time from them, or treasure from them, or talent from them. I don't like your approach. Well, that's fine. That's okay. But do you have an approach? Do you have an approach that the times would require? Do you have some kind of relational marketing approach that you're utilizing? And if so, what is it? And could you teach it to others? Well, I'm really good at schmoozing. I'm really good at networking. That's kind of what you're talking about. No, I'm talking about a strategy. Because a strategy that's written and that is sequential can then be articulated to other board members or other community members or other supporters. And you can get them involved as well. I met a gentleman who'd taken this 100 cup of coffee strategy. Brian Sullivan. And Jeff, you were there. Brian Sullivan happens to be in a community outside of Chicago. Brian Sullivan stands up at this meeting the other day of hundreds of professionals from across his state of Illinois. And he says, I use the 100 cup of coffee strategy that Ian's talking about. And not only did I use it, but we have 5,000 people now as a part of this group that is looking to build a thriving community. And it started with just 10. And then it grew to 156. And then the 156 have grown into what it is now, thousands. And it was just 100 cups of coffee, 100 cups of coffee, 100 cups of coffee, 100 cups of coffee. Takes too long. I don't know. It starts clipping right along when you get to about 10 and they meet with 10 and then they meet with 10. Next thing you know, you're at 100 pretty quick. 100 pretty quick. All right. Don't forget, you can ask your questions in the chat box. Margie is in there. Go, Margie.
Okay, the two-part question.
Two-part question.
First part.
You
say trusting relationship.
First word, yes.
You mentioned it might take 5 cups to get to our own project. If it is trusting, does it create distrust if you then bring up the project and then feel used? They feel used, not us. Shouldn't we be more clear early on?
No, because I'm not going to them to talk about our project. I'm going to them to build trusting relationship with a person of influence. If we ever talk about our project, if we never talk about our project, that's fine. But for me, I know I've got to build trusting relationships with people of influence. I just have to. And then the trusting piece, I mean, I hear what you're saying. You're saying, well, aren't you being manipulative? Because you're going to wait till they feel that they have a bond with you and then you're going to talk to them about your project? Well, if we really do have a trusting relationship, they'll care about me. So, as I said a moment ago, I might get to a place in the conversation with them that I realize that there's no opportunity whatsoever for collaboration or synergy. But I'm still going to build a trusting relationship with them. I just am. Because they're a person of influence. And I care about what they're doing and where they're going. And what they're trying to achieve and what they're hoping to accomplish. Because maybe not today, but down the road I can help them in some meaningful way. I think it's really about sincerity and authenticity and intent. That's what I really think it's about. So yeah, if you're walking into it and the only reason you're sitting across from them is so you can get some money from them, and this is a technique that you're using, then you're right. You're a liar. You're at minimum, you're disingenuous. But for me, I really do want to know. I do really want to hear. And that guy that's helped me meet with the High Commissioner, I don't think he's ever helped me with a project. But I know we've helped him with several projects that he wanted to do. I know we've helped him with several. And now I have a need, and I didn't ask him specifically, I just kind of generally asked, who can get me to a high up official in Ghana? And he was like, I got you, Ian. I got you covered. So I do hear what you're saying. If the only reason you're meeting with them is to get them on board with your project. But I hope the reason you're meeting with them is that they're a person of influence and you want to hear where they're going and what they're hoping to accomplish and what they're hoping to do and what their agenda is. And I hope you're listening to all that. And then, if it's appropriate and if it makes sense, you might tell them about what you're doing because there's alignment. Hey, that's funny. We're doing something similar. My wife and I were fortunate enough to open an elementary school for transitional families, more commonly known as homeless families. This was about 13 years ago. It was an incredible project. We raised $7.2 million in 28 months. And I knew I needed to go meet with the mayor, because the mayor was a person not only of prominence but of influence. So we went and met with the mayor, one-on-one, just me and him. And he thought I was coming there to talk to him about how he could help. And I wasn't. I was coming there to talk about this being his last term and what was on his agenda. Because if what we were doing was on his agenda, then I wanted to talk to him about it. But if it wasn't on his agenda, then I didn't want to talk to him about it. So I wanted to get to better understand what his goals were for his last term. And he talked. And you know what he said? He said his goal was kids. His goal was kids. And he told me all about it in the depth and breadth and why and how and where it come from inside of him. And we had a good talk. And I said to him, I said, Jeff, that's really funny. We want to open up a school for kids who live in motels and shelters and their families and make it one of the first of its kind in North America with an adult education center and a recreational youth center and an elementary school and a housing complex. And we want to do that. And it could be kind of cool. And he said, how can I get involved in that? I said, get involved in it. And I said, why don't you take it? Why don't you make it the centerpiece of your last term? Why don't you help make it happen, man? Why don't you get out in front of it? You can have it. Well, it's your thing, Ian. It's not my thing. It's nobody's thing. But if you're looking for something, a legacy, this could be something great. Alignment. He told me his dreams, his wants, and desires. Ironically, we were doing something along those same lines. There was alignment. And if there's alignment, let's go. Let's journey together. What if there hadn't been? What if he had said, you know, I'm really about public infrastructure for the rest of my time. I really want to help with public infrastructure. Our infrastructure is failing, and roads and bridges and culverts and pipes, and that's what I'm about. Public infrastructure. My legacy is going to be that we get our public infrastructure the way it needs to be. Then I would have said this, okay, Jeff, let me see what I can do to help you with that. What can I do to help you with your agenda of public infrastructure? So it's more about what's in your heart and what's in intent. Now, that was a long-winded response to that simple question, but I think it is about intent, and I think it is about sincerity and authenticity, and frankly, if you use this as a technique, people will smell it a million miles away. Second part of the question.
You answered it.
Oh, I did? What was the question? What was the second part?
What if we just want to learn more about who makes them tick, and our only long-term goal is not a specific project? Well,
that's what it should be. That should be, because walking in with any other established outcome is just going to get you either disappointed or in trouble or whatever. You're just making a list of the people of influence that may have an impact or a need for you to move forward. And then you're going to go talk to them. That's what that Brian Sullivan did. Brian Sullivan just went and met with people of influence. And he just took notes about what they were doing, what they had on the go, what their plan was, what they hoped to achieve. He just notes. And that built his sphere of influence. Because people were like, what are you trying to do? He said, I'm just trying to learn about what everybody wants in the community. Well, what are you going to do with all that? And he said, what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to try to make the community a better place. But I figured the first place to start was to get a sense of what everybody else wanted. You know, just in doing that, he established himself as a person of influence, huh, Jeff? Just in being the catalyst for the conversation. And because he was doing it by being humble and going low, people really appreciated it, especially in today's day and age. Excuse me. Yeah, but Ian, I had an email that come in, and the person said, yeah, but Ian, I'm not exactly sure. We're on tight timelines. We've got to execute. We don't have time. And I would suggest to you that this is an ongoing thing. It's ever happening. That you always want to be. You want to be a community builder, then you need to have these relationships. Yeah, but I don't like all that stuff. I don't like knowing all those people. Okay, well that's fine. Like, I don't like it either. I don't like people generally speaking. I just don't like people. I like my family, my 4 kids, and my wife, and that's it. I don't want to talk to anybody else. Just kind of my name. I'm a loner that way, you know. I'm an introvert. You're not an introvert. Yeah, I am. I'm just kind of shy and to myself. But I also know that having that communication one-on-one with people, really understanding what they're about and where they want to do and where they want to go, will help me fulfill the drive I have within myself to make the world a better place. So I got to get to know those people, because if I want to fulfill the drive I have within myself to make the world a better place, I'm going to need those other people. Or at least I'm going to need to know what they're doing. And maybe I can help them. Maybe I don't need to go do something. Maybe I just need to get underneath what they're doing. Right? I don't have to, we don't have to run the show. If somebody's already doing something, then why duplicate it? Why do it 100 more times? Why not just support them? Right? Maybe you're sitting there having a conversation, you go, you guys are doing all that? Why don't we just support you? Yeah, but you were there to sell your thing. No, I was not there to sell my thing. I was there to build a trusting relationship. And if I gain information that makes me say to myself, why do we need to do all this? They're already doing it. And I really want to make the world a better place, and maybe I set my thing aside and do their thing. Okay. You can put your questions in the chat box if you so choose. Good question. And excellent question, actually. Excellent question. Very, very good question. All right. I want to also talk about people's reactions to change. How do people react to change? You know, there are times when change is forced upon us, and there are times when we want to be catalysts for change. There are times when life circumstances put us in a position where we're forced to change. There are other times when we initiate the change. I would suggest to you that progress and change, as I've said before, are indelibly intertwined. We can't have progress without change. Usually the fundamental barrier to change is attitudinal. It's rarely resources. Oh, it's money. I'm telling you right now, man, you get the right 7 guys in any part of Canada, in any part of the United States. You get the right 7 people to shift their attitude towards what you're doing, you'll have plenty of money. Right, Jeff? I mean, you'll have plenty of money. You'll have plenty of money. You get the right 7 people. So is it about money or is it about attitudes? I think it's about attitudes. And in working with any stakeholder group, I think it's in our best interest to kind of do an evaluation of people's potential reaction to change. And I think that there's only 5 reactions to change, really. If you boil it down to its essence, there's only 5 reactions to change. And I want to go through them. We had them in your handouts, but I want to go through them. Because the community builder is savvy enough to know what she or he may be walking into. The community builder is savvy enough to understand that people may have some trepidation. They may have some pushback. They may not be comfortable. But that shouldn't prevent us from trying to move and change. Because progress and change are indelibly intertwined, and there can be no progress without change. So there's 5 reactions in my mind to change. First, the first reaction to change, the early riser. Early riser. This is the person that they get it. They love change, man. They love change for just change's sake. They will just change things to change them. You know somebody like that. They just get antsy. They get, they call it itching foot, right? They got to change. I got to change where I live. We should move. And hey, I need a new wardrobe. And I just, people like that. Early risers. They like changing. It's thrill for them. Then there's the early adapters. Now, what are they all about? These are the people that they are good with change. They see the value of it. They just want some explanation. They want an explanation. What exactly is the point of this change? Please clarify. I'm sorry. Don't think I heard you. Exactly what? What is the point of the change? And then you explain it. They're like, oh, okay. I'm on board. Sounds good. Logical. Reasonable. I'm in. Third, I call them the crowd. Write that down. The crowd. You could also refer to them as sheeple. Now, that's not to be disparaging. That's just they're sheep people. They don't care. Whatever. If the polarity amongst the group is negative, they'll pull negative. If the polarity amongst the group is positive, they'll pull positive. It's inconsequential to them. Not because they're bad people, just because they got other things on their mind. Like, it's okay with me, whatever you want to do. Fourth, the legitimizer. This is very important. The legitimizer is the individual that they gain their legitimacy amongst the crowd and from the crowd. They say and do what the crowd wants to say and do, but won't. You know some legitimizers. Now, they come off being resistors sometimes, but they're not resistors at all in any way, in any shape, in any form. They are people who deeply care. They care in a profound and real and meaningful way. And that's why they ask the questions they ask. That's why they stand in the public meeting and come at the elected official. But the perception is they're a resistor. They're not. The community builder knows they're not a resistor. They're asking real questions and they want real answers. And the community builder realizes that that legitimizer has a lot of sway with that crowd because they are legitimate to the crowd and they are a person of influence within the crowd. Finally, the resistor. Yes, there are those people that just flat out are against. Now, why are they against? I don't know. Maybe they're against the idea because it came out of your mouth. Maybe they're against the idea because, you used to date their wife back in school. Who knows? I don't know why they're resistant. And does it really matter? Well, it can. It can. But the first step is that they're a resistor. Now, here's the interesting thing. First of all, it's completely unrealistic to think that 100% of people will be on board with what you want to do. That's crazy. And if you're striving for that, stop. Well, I'm trying to build consensus. Well, okay, but even in consensus, it's not 100%. 100% is not consensus. Consensus is we all generally agree, or a majority of us generally agree. Not all of us generally agree. So it's unrealistic to think 100% will be on board. But follow me here. 20% of the people are going to be on board just because they like change. Another 20% of the people are going to be on board if you just give an explanation of what you're doing and seem to be logical and sequential in your action steps. Another 20% of the people are just the crowd, and they're going to go with whatever the strongest influence is. And then the legitimizer is going to be swayed if they have logical, clearly articulated outcomes, action steps, and impacts. And then the resistor is going to resist. So 60% of the people will be on board if you can just explain what the heck you're doing. And actually, if you just focused on the legitimizer and making sure that they got the answers they needed, and you were clear and sequential and logical with them, and lay out the desired outcomes and impacts for them, you'd probably get them on board. And if you got them on board, you're going to get the crowd on board. Well, the early adapter and early riser is already on board. All of a sudden, this change thing's not that hard. What does it begin with? The agent of change knows it begins with being outcome-based and impact-focused. Can I clearly articulate the significant impact of what I plan to do? Can I articulate that? Those of you that are alumni of Let Them Be Kids projects or are currently in Let Them Be Kids projects, you know what the first exercise is. The first exercise is create your desired outcomes. so that we have a lighthouse, a true north, a place to point to, so that we know why we're doing it, and so we can explain why to everyone else. Not just we're building a slide. Who's going to support that? We're creating a community gathering place, and we're going to reduce drug use in our neighborhood, or we're going to increase the graduation rate, or we're going to decrease the dropout rate, or whatever it might be. We're going to increase community pride, whatever. That clearly articulated outcome and their subsequent impacts is what sets a Let Them Be Kids project apart oftentimes, because many community-based groups don't take the time to do that. You want to hear something crazy? Pearson Park in New West Valley, Newfoundland, on Saturday raised $91,000 in one day. That's not an exaggeration. Go to pearsonpark.ltbk.ca. They raised $91,000 in one day in a community of 3,000 people or less, depending on how you count and what the catchment area is. How do you think they did that? Because they were preaching the value of a slide? Because they were preaching the value of a monkey bar? No. Go and look on their website and look at their desired outcomes. You know that they have 400 people already registered for their project, and they are weeks away? They will have over 600 people come out that day to help them build their park in New West Valley, Newfoundland. $91,000 raised in one day via a telethon. Unbelievable. You know why? I believe a vision-based project that was easily articulated, desired outcomes clearly outlined, done by credible and believable people for something meaningful and worthy based on the stakeholders' perspective in their community. Simple. Boom. They cast the vision, everybody tunes in, people start making commitments, donations. Next thing you know, not 24 hours, in one day time for a telethon. Amazing. Isn't that amazing, Jeff? $91,000 in one day. Unbelievable. What's your point? My point is, they know. They're wise enough to know. We got to get the legitimizers on board. We got to get the people of influence on board, and not necessarily the people of prominence. And they did that. They built the trusting relationships. Juan Gill, that principal at that school, and the other community members and committee members, they have built some really strong trusting relationships, and that's why they're having the tremendous success. But Cooks Harbor is doing the same thing. And Dinsmore is doing the same thing. Brant, Alberta is doing the same thing. And coming up soon, I'll be able to say the projects in the United States, but one of them is watching right now. You know, we can't tell anybody. We can't tell anybody. I'll say this. Eastern United States. It's east of Missouri. And up in New England somewhere. I'll say that. Yeah. But I can't say who it is because they haven't done their announcement yet. But they're going to do the same thing. For you, if you run a homeless shelter, or if you run a national organization of conservancy, and I know that there's those watching that do both, these concepts hold true within the four walls of your organization, and these concepts hold true out in your community. And if your community catchment area is 4,000 people, or if your community's catchment area is a national organization, what are people's reaction to the change you're about to propose going to be? And once I better understand what their reactions may be, then I can do something with that. Reactions to change. Now, finally, you were supposed to listen. You were supposed to listen. And you were supposed to send out surveys. Did you send out the survey? Did you send out the survey, and what could that survey mean? So I just want to really do that quickly. Now, if you're going to ask a question, don't wait till right at 45. If you're going to ask a question, ask it now while I'm talking about this, and that way I can address the question. So you can just put the question in the chat box, and I'll address it. And Margie's there to take your question. But you sent out a survey. You sent out a survey. And that survey, you had 3 questions. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Suggestions for my improvement. And if you could send me back to school, what class would you make me take? Those 3 questions. Let's talk about what the answers or responses could mean. First of all, most of us immediately go to question number 2. We skip right over question number 1 when we get them back. Right? Well, don't do that. Start with question number 1. And whether it's question number 1, question number 2, or question number 3, we are looking for trends. If you have someone that just says one thing out here, positive or negative, but it's not supported by any of the other feedback you've gotten, leave it alone. I mean, look at it. Say to yourself, where could they be getting that perception? I mean, think about it. But don't give it the weight that you would give a trend. Number of people saying the same thing. Question number 1 will help you validate what you thought it would be. Well, I thought they would say this about me. Or maybe it's a total surprise. If it's a total surprise, what it tells me is that stakeholders around you value something differently than you thought they would. So either way, it's good to know. Either it's a validation of the attributes and qualities you thought that brought value, or it's an observation that there are some attributes and qualities that maybe you didn't hold in as great as value as they do. Second, and this is always a tough one, somebody giving you feedback about how you can improve. It's always sensitive and difficult, but you want to take it in the light of, I'll use the athletic metaphor, forgive me, an athletic metaphor of game film. If I can watch the film of how I'm playing the game, I can see exactly what I'm doing and what I need to improve on. The same is true with the feedback from the surveys. Because I can get feedback from the surveys and people are telling me how I'm doing. And they've given me some suggestions for improvement. Again, I'm looking for trends. What if one person does say something that's far afield from everybody else? I'm still going to look at it. And the way I'm going to look at it is this. Is there any possible way that they could draw that conclusion? Is there anything that I'm doing that would support that conclusion? Is there any misperception that they could be drawing because of my words, my actions, or my lack thereof? I'm trying to be thoughtful and reasonable about it. And if the answer is yes, then I got to change. If the answer is no, then I move on. As long as I'm thoughtful about it, I really gave it some time. I thought it all the way through. I can't see how they possibly would come to that conclusion, how a reasonable person would possibly come to that conclusion. So I'm moving on because I don't see anybody else telling me that. The third question. Now the third question is, frankly, just to validate the second question. That's all it is. It just validates the second question. And so if the second question was, I need to be a better listener, and then they tell me that I need to go back to listening school, I need to be a better listener, we need to go back to listening school, then, or listening class, then that's just another whimsical way of asking question number 2. It validates. It's just a different way of asking the same question to see if I have some consistency. Now the next thing is, what do I do with this survey? Well, if it was me, what I would do with the survey is, I would gather it together, I would look for the trends. I would evaluate what I'm doing right, see if it's what I thought people were going to say. I would look at what am I doing wrong in the class that people want me to take, and I would pick out one of those things. I would pick out one of those things, and I would start to work on it. Now it's funny, I gave you a way to change when we talked about the change continuum. And in the coming weeks, I'm going to give you an opportunity to make a commitment about what you're going to change and what you're going to get better at. But for now, I would sit down with those stakeholders or go back to them one-on-one. And I would say, you know what? I got a bunch of surveys back. Here's what I learned. And in what I learned, I've decided I'm going to work on blank. And here's my plan to work on blank. 2 things. Well, actually 3 things. Thing number 1. A person will give you permission to lead them when they perceive that you will do things they wouldn't do. When they are impressed that you're taking steps they wouldn't take. And when they admire the fact that you execute things that they wouldn't. 1, most people won't send out that survey. 2, most people won't thoughtfully consider it. 3, most people won't go back to the stakeholders that gave the information and say, here's what I'm going to work on. And then 4, most people won't take that information and go get better. You know what that's called? That's called leadership. Leaders do those 4 steps. Leaders go ask for feedback. Leaders synthesize the feedback. Leaders pick out one thing. Leaders get better. And leaders take that one thing and bring it to fruition, and betterment occurs. Followers look at that and say, wow, I would have never sent out the survey. Wow, I can't believe they're sharing it with us. And wow, they're actually working on the feedback we gave them, and they're getting better at it. Wow. In today's day and age, people need to give you permission to lead them. If you want to be a community builder, you're going to have to lead. But the way that you lead is different than the way people have led in the past. The way that you lead today is about building trusting relationships. This 3-question exercise is a proactive attempt to give you a shot at building a trusting relationship. Because they're going to admire that you sent out the survey. Some will be cynical. But even the cynical ones, when you take the survey, synthesize it, and go start working on something, are going to at least say, I can't believe they did that. And when you consistently do that over a period of time, you know what you're going to find? People are going to say, this is real. This is real. And in today's user-driven society, where every other institution they interface with will give them an opportunity to give insight and feedback, you better do the same. Think about it. We make our purchasing decisions based on 3 smiley faces and 4 stars. We don't listen to experts anymore. People that have gone to school for years and years and years, we don't listen to anymore. Now we look at 3 smiley faces or 4 smiley faces and 5 stars. If something has 5 stars, we do it. 5 stars. Yeah, but you know, none of those people that gave it 5 stars have a clue. I know, but it's authentic, it's real, it's organic. And because it's authentic, real, and organic, I'm going to go stay there. I'm going to stay in that hotel because TripAdvisor says. Well, do you ever think about this? That the people that are hitting those 5 stars are slobs? And what they would call 5-star is, you know, crap? No, we don't think about that because it's authentic. But if the expert, the travel agent tells us, oh, we're like, oh, you're just selling. You're just selling me. You must take that fundamental shift into account when you're talking about community building. So now it's about authentic communication, trusted conduits. You know what it's really all about? It's really about building a trusting relationship. So one of the ways to do that is listen, and a tangible way to do that is send out that survey. Get that information back and work to improve yourself. Okay, we've come to the end of our time. We've gone a little bit long. I appreciate the work that you're doing in your specific community, in your specific organization, in your specific initiative. Some of you are on a national level. Some of you are on an international level. Others of you are municipal employees. Others of you are volunteers. Others of you are business people. Some of you are elected officials. All of you are drawn together and connected by one thing, the desire to make your community a better place to live. You are community builders. That is noble and that is honorable. Noble and honorable. And it's also hard. So just know this, we appreciate you. We appreciate your time and your energy and your effort. We appreciate all that you're doing to make your community a better place for the citizens of today and the generation to come. Next week, we'll start a new teaching session. We're going to talk about systems. It's going to be really, really good. Big picture, holistic systems thinking. All right? Till then, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.